building emails without the frustrating writer's block. Now, what did I do in that headline? Just to recap real quick.
You put culture in quotes.
I did do that, but
You have cash and then you have frustrating.
you see the formula?
Yeah.
How to get benefit without
And
pain.
that's another lesson that you can load up somewhere, a how-to lesson. That's the way you're going, right?
Well, no, I'm saying I taught you earlier in the workshop headline formula, how to get benefit without pain, right? How to write cash-producing, culture-building emails without frustrating writer's block. It's the same thing, right? So this is how you turn your audience and your email list subscribers into raving fans who can become a cult if you can build culture using these strategies, right?
Is that what we are, a cult?
No. So having said that, and I'll dive specifically into the actual deployment via email marketing in a little while, in the second part of this actual presentation, but this whole strategy revolves around a strategy called talk radio email. You approach your email list as a talk radio news station where there's songs and there's ads and there's songs and there's ads, right? And if the song is good enough and if you like tuning in to the actual song, that's your station, right? I have a certain station, that's the station I listen to when I drive. When ads go, that's still my station, right? I still tune in. So your goal is to write an email in the morning with your song, your entertainment, your value, right? And then a direct sales message in the evening with the actual offer, which is the ad, right? Which is the commercial break. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about the actual strategy moving forward. Understand that 2 emails a day to your list might freak you out, and it might be like, oh my God, am I emailing too much? It's actually the opposite. The more you email, the more your list becomes more responsive if you're doing things correctly, right? If you're using the attractive character, which we're going to dive into here today. And the cleaner your list gets, because the people who don't identify with you and the people who aren't actually into what you have to say unsubscribe and they leave, and so you're left with 100 loyal versus 100,000 people who don't care who you are, which is much more valuable, right? 100 loyal fans can make you a lot of money. 1,000 loyal fans can build a huge business for you, right? So this presentation is really going to be about how to build loyal fans using the attractive character, and then how to deploy the attractive character using email marketing. You should also deploy the attractive character in every different component of your marketing. On your webinars, in your sales videos, with your Facebook Lives, with your videos, with your blog posts, everywhere, all right? So, having said that, don't worry about perfectionism, please, when writing emails, all right? Email every single day, ideally 2 times per day. Leverage the attractive character in every single email. People will opt in for your content. They will stay in your world based on the relationship that they have with the attractive character. Does that make sense? Yeah? So, as an example, when an email inbox hits your inbox and you ignore it, there's no relationship. When I send an email to your guys' list, you probably are going to open it, right? Because we have that relationship. So, look at every email as an ongoing conversation with your subscribers, and you're just simply offering solutions within your conversation. Email marketing has to be conversational, right? That's the goal. Consistency wins, and that's a big one that I need all of you to get, and Dan touched on yesterday. Consistency wins. If you email for a month and don't get the results that you want to, if you're consistent for 3 months, you're going to get better results, especially if you improve your skill sets along that period of time. And then you build up that pipeline effect that we talked about yesterday, right? Where when you're consistent enough, every day someone's reading your blog posts, watching your videos, buying your offer, coming through the boot camp, seeing the pro offers, etc., right? There's always an action being taken when you're really consistent, but nothing happens if you're not really consistent, all right? Question for you guys. What do you think the most important part of an email is when it comes to getting it open? Anything else?
The body.
PS.
Think outside the box. What's the most important component, the most important thing when it comes to getting your emails open? Subject.
They like you already.
The person sending the email. If your mother sends you an email, does it matter what the subject line is? Right? Not that much. So subject lines do matter, You want to be aware of how to write subject lines, and we'll give you some formulas here at the end. But having said that, if you have the best subject line in the world, but people don't want to hear from you, what's going to happen? They're not going to open, right? Having said that, would you open an email if you're a Californication fan, if it was sent from Hank Moody? Right? Who here likes that show? I liked it, right? You hated it?
I loved it.
Oh, okay. It went on about 4 seasons too long, but it was good besides that. But Hank Moody's a perfect example of an attractive character, of someone who his personality is something that people are attracted to based on certain characteristics that they intentionally created within his character in order to have people bond with that character who watched the show. So who here watched the show again? Yeah? So let me ask you a question. No matter how much stupid shit he did, didn't you still root for him? Absolutely. Yeah. Didn't you always want him to get, the girl, the wife? No matter how many times he got her and then let her go, right? You still rooted for him. He created empathy, identification. He was just funny, his mannerisms. He wasn't boring, right? Who here watches Sons of Anarchy? Or who here has watched any Sons of Anarchy? Jax Teller. How many people did he kill? Everyone, right? Did you still feel a sense of wanting him to, rooting for him, right? Getting behind him. Even though he did bad things, his character was someone who you rooted for based on certain elements that they created within his actual character that got you to have empathy with him, identification with him, and got you behind him, right? That's what you want to do in your marketing. So, having said that, the elements of the attractive character, and we're going to dive through all of them here. This is going to be a little bit advanced too. This is something we cover in the Maui Intensive, so you guys are getting the goods here. Understand this lesson, understand how important this lesson is. This is one of the things that Dagan paid 10 grand to learn in a day, right? Yeah, paid 10 grand for a day to work with John Alanis. John Alanis taught him the attractive character, told him to email twice a day, and his business went from 4 to 8 to 16 to 20 or to 32, and so on and so forth. He doubled his profits. So the attractive character has an identity, all right? And this is your identity in the marketplace. What I mean by identity is who you are to the people that follow you, all right? Are you the leader? A leader is a really good place for all of you to start because you don't need to be an expert in order to be a leader, all right? You don't need to be an expert. You're just on a journey leading people. So if you position yourself as a leader and you let people know, I'm on this mission and I'm going to make it happen come hell or high water, you position yourself as the leader, right? The reluctant hero. The reluctant hero is more the expert who has been in the industry for a while, or the expert who doesn't like the spotlight, but even though he doesn't like the spotlight, he sacrifices that and he actually is out there marketing and doing his thing because he understands that the marketplace needs his knowledge, right? He's the reluctant hero. A reluctant hero is still a hero, right? The evangelist. The evangelist is the person who goes out and interviews everybody, the reporter, the person who goes out and comes to events like this and reports back, brings people on their adventure, which is kind of similar to the adventure crusader, right? But the evangelist is more the person who reports and kind of more or less leverages other people's results, leverages other people's knowledge before they have their own, right? Now again, I would rather, if I was getting started, position myself as a leader, but I'd probably do leader/evangelist, right? Again, you don't need any level of social proof to be an evangelist. You're just someone who really loves the industry, loves what's going on, and you're out there bringing the message of other people back to your following, right? Last is the adventurer crusader, adventurer/crusader. And that's the person who goes out and goes to all the events, goes on wild adventures, goes to the Bahamas, the tropics, Maui, takes their group of people with them, right? So you have to specifically identify which one of these you are in order to have your audience understand what you're doing and have your audience come on the journey with you, right? So what would you guys say that you should probably start as? Leader?
Leader/evangelist.
Yeah. Adventure Crusader, I mean, that's another one where you can start, right? You don't need huge levels of social proof. The only one is it's hard to be a reluctant hero when you haven't had any level of result yet, right? Because you're reluctant to come to the marketplace, but you haven't done anything. So it's kind of like, what? So define who you are in the marketplace and understand that it's important. Next, the attractive character has a backstory. So all event, we've been talking about stories, right? What does your story do? Bond, right? It creates a bond. It creates identification. It allows people to understand who you are on a personal level versus just the dude who's making money on the internet, right? What's that? The guru, right? The person that you get what I'm saying. So it allows you to create identification with your audience. Remember, identification is the fastest path to trust. How many of you guys have heard my backstory before you came here, right? There's a reason why I tell that backstory, like I've spoken about at this event so far. Identification is the fastest path to trust. Your story should be made up of pains that your audience can identify with, preceded by a breakthrough that your audience wants. Does that make sense? Stuck, struggling, overwhelmed, spinning my wheels, found the thing, broke through, lifestyle, freedom, no JOB. Now, having said that, if you haven't created your massive level, your massive breakthrough yet, understand that still, if you've just created that first breakthrough, and if you're just on the journey, right, you're still farther ahead of anybody else. And if you position yourself as the evangelist/leader who's on the journey to riches after being in the state of pain that your audience is in, it's the same thing, right? It allows you to create identification. Now, it's best if it goes super low to super high. Living in a van to millionaire, right? Evicted from 2 homes to 6-figure earner 6 months later. Now, you can actually strategically engineer a super low to super high story in different aspects of your marketing. So as an example, who in here hasn't ever really this group's a little bit more advanced, but who here hasn't generated a lead? Not many people. So Ina, you've never generated a lead, right? Now, if you were to go out and purchase a 1,000-click solo ad and send it directly to a capture page that tested and proven to convert at 40%, right? You generate just about 400 leads if you pick the right person to buy traffic from. So your story is now from never generating a single lead to generating 400 leads in a single day overnight, right? Super low to super high. Now again, that's one of those things that it's to increase the power of your story. It's not absolutely necessary. But again, it's an archetype that people can identify with, right? It's an archetype that people want, and the story of low, the pain, is the archetype that people identify with. So let's look at some of mine, all right? Loss of tennis career, find internet marketing, get stuck in shiny object syndrome, $9,755 in debt, evicted 2 times, moved to Las Cruces, moved back in with my dad. What's all that? Story pains. But these are story pains that my audience can identify with. Who here has lost something that you love, right? Who here has lost a passion, a hobby that you love? Music, right? Loss of tennis career, that's a loss of redemption. And then all pains that my marketplace can identify with. I broke through, crossed 6 figures, then multiple 6 figures, then multiple 7 figures. Story, backstory, pain, my marketplace can identify with, breakthrough to my current reality that my marketplace wants. So see how it's about what my marketplace wants? And you see how in my marketing, what am I looking for here? In my marketing, there are certain things I don't say. I'm not lying, all right? But there are certain things I don't say that are true because I know my marketplace doesn't want it, all right? So in my story, I talk about traveling the world, getting to speak on stage, getting to go to events all the time, getting to travel whenever I want because I know that's what my marketplace wants. I don't talk about working 12 hours a day like I do, right? I'm not lying. If someone asks me, how much do you work? I tell them I work a lot, right? But having said that, there's certain elements of your story that you want to tell and amplify because that's what your audience wants. Does that make sense? On the same page? Super low to super high. 9,000.
Do you go like 3 lows down or?
There's not a set formula. I mean, story down, story down, story down, story crash.
Okay.
That can work well always. But having said that, that's a good question. The more gruesome you're willing to get with your story, the more people will follow. All right? So if you're willing to tell that story that really kind of hurts, people will follow because people feel that way, right? If you're out there just saying traffic lead sales, follow up all the time, you seem fake. If you're willing to tell that story that people, again, can really kind of come into your world and get behind you, right? Remember, Hank Moody did stupid shit all the time. You still got behind him, right? You wanted to get behind him. You actively rooted for him. That's what you're trying to do here. The attractive character has a moral code. And this is a big one. So the definition of your moral code is a code of behavior that you have and you never break, no matter what the end result is to you. So whether it benefits you or whether it harms you, you never break your code, right? What's an example of this? Part of my moral code is that I never, and I might have this on a coming slide, but part of my moral code is that I never, ever, ever post huge screenshots on Facebook. I'm not super hypey on Facebook. I'm not sharing, 10 million, 2.7 million screenshots, buy here, click here now. I'm not perpetuating drama on Facebook, even though if I did, I could potentially make more sales, right? I stand against that with my moral code. Very few people have a moral code, and so if you have a moral code, you immediately differentiate yourself from other people, and the people who do have a moral code, guess what? They break it really often, right? So if you make it known to your followers, to your prospects, what your moral code is, no get rich quick, no wanting the system to do all the work for you, and again, I'm going to run through all these, but these are just examples. No posting hypey crap on Facebook. If you make that known and then you never break it, you're someone who stands for something, and you do what you're going to say. And who here thinks that that's attractive? Right? See how that creates attraction? When you have and live by a moral code, it makes you attractive. It makes you stand out as someone worth actually following, which is what I just touched on. The key, figure out what your moral code is and then never break it, all right? Now your moral code should also, and I'll get into this a little bit more, your moral code should also lead people to buying your products, all right? Never lie, but your moral code should lead people to buying your products. And I'll get into how you do that in a minute. Having said that, don't push your moral code down your prospect's throat. This is how you have to do it now, adopt my moral code, right? Don't push it down their throat. Tell your prospects what your moral code is and make them come up to your level, right? Make them aspire to be like you. Make them want to be better based on them wanting to come up to your level by adopting your moral code. Whoops. So I messed up the title of this slide. This should be my moral code, right? So these are aspects of my moral code. No get rich quick. No hardcore get rich quick. So I actually believe that you can make a lot of money very quickly because I've experienced it, right? But having said that, I'm not going to tell people, you're going to make $1 million overnight. No get rich quick. No wanting the system to do all of the work for you, all right? Hard work is the key to doing anything worthwhile in life. Together we stand, divided we fall. Always take responsibility. Invest in yourself is the highest form of maturity in an entrepreneur. Substance over style. Let your results do the talking. Embrace reality. Understand how it actually is. Focus on what you control and produce results based on how it actually is versus wishing it were some other way and not taking action, right? To your goals, work hard and work smart, all right? Now, how many times have you guys seen me perpetuate this message through my marketing? How many times on a webinar have you seen me no get rich quick, no wanting the system to do all the work for you, right? That's me perpetuating my moral code through my marketing, because when you have a moral code, when you stand by your moral code no matter what, it makes you attractive, right? Now, what I didn't touch on there is that how do these things benefit me besides just having, the actual moral code that makes me attractive? Any guesses?
For the prospects who think they can get rich
So you repel nightmare customers, you attract good customers. But then at the same time, and just to be transparent, I 100% believe in all of these elements of my moral code. And if you don't, if you create a moral code that you don't believe in, people will know, right? But having said that, when I constantly perpetuate it through my marketing, and when I tell a story about investing in a mastermind, and me investing in a mastermind brings my business to the next level, allows me to hit multiple six figures, and then I invest in another mastermind, I invest in my intellectual capital, I invest in my education, I go all in with my business, right? And as a result, I get the result that my audience wants. What does that do to my audience? Makes them want to do the same thing. So if you have a mastermind to promote, right, that helps with your sales process. If I didn't believe in masterminds, I wouldn't be selling them, firstly, right? But having said that, do you see how that can lead people down the path that you want them to go down? Does that make sense? Again, just don't lie, all right? If you believe that you can get rich overnight, use it as part of your moral code, but people will see through it. The attractive character shares past personality flaws. This is a big one, right? Would Superman be Superman without kryptonite? That's right. You have to have weaknesses that you overcome, and that's what your past personality flaws are. So your character flaws should be flaws that your audience struggles with, and in sharing them, you create empathy with your audience, and you should share how you've overcome those same flaws. The key, you don't want to be held back by your character flaws, but you want to share stories about having been held back and how you overcame those personality flaws in order to become someone unstoppable. Who here wants to follow someone that makes shit happen, right? That's the person who you're attracted to follow. You're not necessarily attracted to follow the Big Lebowski, right? He's a good character, but having said that, if in your marketing you're talking about sitting on the couch all day, it's not going to do much for you. Be the superhero who still understands what it feels like to be the average Joe, all right? There's reasons there's movies made about superheroes. People like that story. People want to feel understood, all right? People feel as if their problems have never occurred for anybody else, which is complete and totally irrational. But when you make them feel understood, you're the person who goes ahead and creates the bond with them through making them feel like you've been exactly where they are. So who here has seen me perpetuate, my old tendency to procrastinate, perfectionism, fear of failure, used to be kind of lazy, horrible on the phone, anything with numbers, right? Who here watched the Facebook Live a couple of days ago where I talked about just finishing up the webinar presentation because I set a deadline, and that's how I overcome the personality flaw of procrastination, right? That's a story that ties in a past personality flaw and ties in how I overcame it, right? Does that make sense? How many times have I talked about being afraid of failure, but still overcoming it based on systems, right? Does that create more of a sense of I'm a real person to you guys, right? That's what you're going after. Whether you love him or you hate him, he knows how to get and keep attention, right? So the attractive character creates polarity. Now, the big thing when it comes to polarity, when you're polarizing, people tune in, all right? Whether they love you or they hate you, they still tune in. And when you have people tuned in, what's the scarcest commodity in the marketplace? Attention. You have people's attention. What's better, to have 100 people that really like you following you, or to have 10,000 people who hate you and 10,000 people that love you? 10,000 people that hate you and 10,000 people that love you, right? If you're always trying to make everybody happy by not creating a sense of us versus them, you really kind of more or less limit your reach. When you're polarizing, people tune in, and when people tune in, you have their attention, the scarcest commodity. Having said that, who here knows Rush Limbaugh or Howard Stern? Those are the examples Dagan Smith always used, right? Those are people, and I might have them, I have them on the slide. Those are the people who have radio stations that, in our world today, attention, ADHD, everyone's going every which way all the time. Still, even though they're going every which way all the time, when they come on the air, not only do they listen to them, they stop what they're doing and they make sure to tune in, right? Are they extremely polarizing? Yeah. Do some people still listen who hate them? My dad hated Rush Limbaugh, but he listened to him every morning and I never understood it, right? It's one of those things.
They get paid very well because of that.
Yeah, very, very, very well. So how you do it is you decide what you stand for and what you stand against, and you create contrast between the two, right? And again, it kind of ties into your actual moral code. So what I stand for, mastery of skill sets, doing the work, constant learning, investing in yourself, going all in, attending the events. Whoops. There we go. Attending the events, all right? That's what I stand for. I stand for, no get rich quick, no wanting the system to do all the hard work for me. So when I perpetuate that, I repel my best customers, I repel my worst customers, I attract my best customers, and I create a sense of polarization. I create a sense of us versus them. What I stand against, not investing in yourself, refunders. Now, specific types of refunders, people who buy a product and wait until the last day that they have marked on their calendar and then refund, right? That's theft. It's theft of intellectual property. When someone buys a product, goes through it, knowing that they're going to refund, that's theft of intellectual property. I stand against that. Blaming the system for lack of results, right? In my mind, if the system works for someone else can make it work for them too, if they're willing to master skill sets, if they're willing to invest in themselves. Laziness, right? It's a lot of laziness in this marketplace. People don't want to do what's necessary in order to create the result. Now, if I write a story scorning laziness, everybody who's on my list who's lazy immediately gets repelled, but more valuable to me, simultaneously, the people who aren't lazy immediately become magnetically attracted to me, right? Because we're on the same page. What did I talk about yesterday? What's the fastest way to attract a Democrat? Diss a Republican, find a common enemy, scorn the common enemy, and vice versa, right? Diller's post. So yeah, Diller actually wrote a post about refunders, and it was called "You Are All Losers." And he just more or less wrote about people who buy and do that, where they wait until the last day to refund after going through the product, and he just scorned it, and didn't really end the post with anything but, if you're one of those persons, please kindly leave, get out of my world, I don't want to deal with you. Very straight to the point. The thing went viral. The entire marketplace was sharing it, right? And everybody on his list that thinks like me had a bond with him, right? That increased the relationship based on us being on the same page, us versus them. Not taking responsibility for your results. That's one that I stand against. If you don't take responsibility for your failure, you can't take responsibility for your success, right? So you have to look in the mirror and you have to realize that wherever you are in your journey right now, you're right there for a reason, and it's based on the action steps that you've taken. And if you don't come to that realization, once you're a 6 and multiple 6-figure earner, you can't take credit for being a 6 or multiple 6-figure earner, because you're saying that thing outside of myself made me successful. The Super Affiliate Network helped Ace and Rich become successful. They made it happen, right? They took responsibility. Get rich quick, I touched on that a minute ago. And again, the fastest way to create the sense of us versus them is not to talk about all the things you stand for all the time. It's in scorning the common enemy, all right? In talking about what you stand against. There's 2 ways of doing it. The fastest way to create a sense of polarization is to scorn the common enemy. Make sense? Awesome. The attractive characters are authorities, all right? So we've been talking about how to operate without social proof a lot during this weekend, right? This is a really valuable lesson for all of you guys to understand, and I talked about it a little bit when I was sitting back there last night. But you are the authority, or excuse me, people listen to you when you're the authority, but having said that, what comes down to people perceiving you as the authority is your level of certainty. It's not a picture on stage. That helps, right? It's not a top earner award. That helps. Someone with a top earner award who isn't certain is less attractive than someone with a top earner award who's the contrarian mindset, right? You think that if someone hates you, they're not going to follow. If you have attention and if you're polarizing, they still follow even though they hate you. And then what happens when more people are following you? People go and talk about you, and your audience gets bigger based on viral growth, right? Who was on TV the entire election? Literally, you turned on every single channel, Democratic or Republican, who was on TV on the news channels? Donald Trump. If he wouldn't have got himself on TV through being really polarizing, do you think his audience would have grown virally like it did? Exactly. Starting to get it? Yeah?
I just want to say, Francois, actually, he liked things you saw in one of your videos.
Yeah?
Like, oh, okay, you're like normal, you're like a normal person.
Yep. See, it actually works, right? The last thing you want to do is be boring and be textbook. That will repel people faster than anything else if you're textbook and boring. If used correctly, your own unique language creates a sense of an insider's club, all right? So as an example, we talked about market research and your own unique language with a marketplace, right? But if you were to, say something over and over and over and over with your friends and there's an inside joke and you're at a table and you say something and 5 people laugh at the table but no one else does, that's an insider's club based on the language that you use, right? You can do that in your email through using certain terms that creates a sense of an insider's club with the people who are around enough, all right? When they tune in consistently, they follow, those are your raving fans, and again, creates a sense of an insider's club. Don't be boring. Need to put this on a separate slide to reinforce it. The last thing you want to do is be boring. So here are some storylines, all right? The attractive character uses certain storylines in their marketing. Loss and redemption. Lost my entire tennis career, what I'd worked for my entire life. Lost my ability to go play Division I tennis and then possibly a pro career, right? Lost it all, got addicted to pain pills, absolute low of the low, got evicted, rebuilt, created a new, current, awesome, present reality for myself. Loss and redemption. Do you think people can identify with that? Who here has lost something they love, right? Loss and redemption. Us versus them. We just talked about us versus them, what I stand for and what I stand against. If you write an email scorning a certain behavior with a story, the storyline is us versus them. Renee does this well, right? She's really good at writing emails. Creating us versus them in your marketing, again, repels and attracts. Repels your nightmare clients, attracts your best clients. Either which way, keeps attention. Before and after, all right? Before I found solo ads, I was using the Power Editor and I was miserable. After I found solo ads, life is great, I'm generating a lot of leads. You want to learn how to use solo ads, right? It's very simple, but also extremely powerful. How many infomercials have before and after cry and buy testimonials? Pretty consistent, right? You're starting to see these patterns in marketing. Amazing discovery. You can use this one with solo ads too, right? I was stuck, I was struggling, I was overwhelmed. I was trying Bing, PPV, trying all this crap, spending all day in front of my laptop, 0 results. Had my mentor say, Misha, why don't you just tap into other people's email lists and send a solo ad out to other people's email lists? I had this amazing discovery, immediately implemented what he told me. 200 leads the next day, 6-figure business 6 months later, all using solo ads. See how that amazing discovery created demand for the product, solo ads, right? Secret telling. And again, this creates a sense of what? What did we talk about on the last slide? Insider's club, all right? When you tell someone a secret, what do they feel like? An insider. Their whole business is built on secrets. Russell Brunson's .com Secrets book, right? Russell Brunson's a master with the attractive character. So tell secrets to your audience to create that sense of an insider's club. And who doesn't want to know a secret? Will you open a subject in an email with a subject line, saying, I've got a secret to tell you? That's going to get opened pretty regularly. Third-person testimonials. Very simple. Whenever you get a testimonial, send it out to your list. It helps with authority, and the more testimonials you have, the better, right? As long as they're good testimonials. All right, you guys understand the storylines? Does it make sense? Do you see how all these things do certain things in your marketing that have a benefit to you? Whether it be identification, us versus them, attract and repel, before and after, again, identification, amazing discovery, create demand for what the thing was that led to the amazing discovery, secret telling, insiders club, third person testimonial, building authority, right? You see how that works? Awesome. So your attractive character brings you behind the scenes and bounces your prospects, bounces prospects. So I could do better at the behind the scenes thing. I don't, just because I tend to be an introvert, right? It's one of those things that I should work on, but who here follows Gary Vee, whether you love him or whether you hate him? All right? People tend to follow him. Is he extremely polarizing? Yeah? Okay. Who here likes Gary Vee? All right? Who here really likes Gary's daily V's, where he shows you his day, right? Those tend to be behind the scenes style of video. You get to see him playing basketball, you get to see him walking around New York. There's no real content shared other than him doing his thing, but you're behind the scenes. Now, bouncing is simply bringing your prospects to multiple different locations with you, right? So one of the really easy ways to create know, like, and trust very quickly with your audience is to bounce your prospects in the first couple days that they've been on your email list. So what I mean is, if you guys shoot a video in Maui, right, and then you go home and shoot a video at home, and then you go out to dinner and shoot a video at dinner, right, and then you go out somewhere else and shoot another video, all at different locations, and then in that first email you send out to your list, you have all of those different videos, all in different locations. Because people watch all the videos in different locations, if they do, the small percentage that do, feel like they've known you a long time, even though they've only been in your world for a day, right? It's called bouncing your prospects. Who here has ever seen a product launch? Yeah? Was every single video in the exact same location? No, right? If they were, they could have been a whole hell of a lot better. One of the ways to create trust with the attractive character is to bring people in different scenes with you. You can bring them to 5 different scenes in a 2-day period. It creates a sense of a long lost friend, or that, long relationship. Builds an old friend style relationship very quickly. Makes your audience feel like they're part of the journey. That's more of the behind the scenes, right? When you do this correctly, you become the hero to your audience, which is it's the right place to be, right? Because who do you follow? Who do they make movies about? Heroes, right? So all of this stuff works in conjunction with each other in order to create a following instead of just a static email list. The attractive character has superpowers, right? Again, what's more interesting to follow? The dude who wakes up and goes to work every day and comes back and then goes to sleep? Or the superpower, or the person with superpowers, right? The superhero. Now, you don't want to do it in an egotistical way and always be talking about yourself, right? But you also have to understand that people want to follow a superhero. So if you're too caught up in, not being willing to share some of your results that will come off as a superpower to your audience, you're going to come off as bland and they won't follow you. So, ability to do what others can't do or won't do. Your prospects want you to have superpowers. No one wants to follow a loser, right? Make your list aware of your superpowers through stories, all right? Stories of you using your superpowers and the results that it's gone ahead and produced based on you using those superpowers, and make your superpowers ideally be what your audience actually wants, right? Who here followed Dagan when he was marketing? What was he known for? The king of never calling a single lead, right? That's his superpower. People found that really attractive. Is that superpower congruent with what his audience actually wants? To be able to attract and close people into their home business opportunity without the phone. If your superpower is something that your audience hates, it doesn't do much for you, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Known for my ability to drive hordes of cold traffic wherever I want, then convert that traffic into high-ticket buyers. Who here has heard me say that? Right? Who here would like to be able to do that? Right? Again, they must be congruent with your target market and with what your target market actually wants to accomplish. Does that make sense? Yeah. Awesome. Again, don't brag about your superpowers. Instead, tell stories and let your list come to the conclusion that you have them. All right? Let others build your legend for you, so whenever you're interviewed, never deny that your superpowers exist. When people interview me at like NES last year, and he said, God, this guy can send emails that produce, tens of thousands of dollars whenever he wants. I didn't say, no, I can't. Right? I said, thank you. Let them build your legend for you. Reluctant heroes are still heroes, right? Humble arrogance is key. And this is one of those things where don't be egotistical. Be humble, but be the person who can produce the result that your audience wants, all right? Allude to your powers with allude to your super, I don't know how many times I can say super. Allude to your superpowers with stories, and then let your audience come to the conclusion that you have them, all right? Again, your prospects want to feel like you've been like them in the past, but you've found something, you've learned skill sets, you've become the person they want to become moving forward, right? That's what they want you to be if they're going to follow. Does that make sense? Cool. So my superpower is the ability to drive cold traffic whenever I want, the ability to convert those customers into highly loyal fans, writing emails that produce thousands of dollars worth of revenue, which I have done. That's a typo. The ability to transfer my superpowers to students. How many times do I share Ace and Rich and the fact that, if you go ahead and do what I tell you, you'll actually produce a result, right? Those are all my superpowers, and those are attractive to my target market. 12, the attractive character has the Godfather position, all right? Now, if you do everything leading up to this point, you will have attained the Godfather position, and now it's time to keep and hold the Godfather position. Fear of disappointment, all right? It makes your list appreciate you. Having said that, how you do it is you scorn certain things you stand against, and you actively show your followers that you're not impressed when they don't adopt your philosophy, right? So when someone comes through and purchases the Solo Ad Success Formula and goes to the one module that gives the done-for-you vendors and then refunds and asks for $100, not knowing that we track, that they haven't gone through everything, right? That's something I stand against, clearly, right? What do? I write an email scorning that behavior and saying that I'm disappointed. And then what does that do to everybody else that reads that email? It conditions them to not do that, right? You want your person on your list to be afraid of disappointing you, all right? That's how you get people to do stuff. Again, when you do everything else we already spoke about, you'll attain, and then it's about maintaining. Maintaining, again, is about letting people know you're not impressed when they don't do what you say. Again, don't be arrogant in the Godfather position, but never deny that you are the Godfather. All right? Never tell your list you aren't the authority to them. You are the authority. When you say that you're the authority, when you believe that you're the authority. Tell them what to expect with your us versus them, with your philosophy, with your moral code, and then express disappointment when they don't come up to your level, all right? Make them fear letting you down. There's value in having someone in your life that has the Godfather position because they'll get you to take action steps you won't take, all right? There are certain people in this industry that if they tell me, Dagan, one being one of them, if he tells me, Misha, get off your ass and do this thing, I do it. Why? Because he attained the Godfather position to me, all right? It's valuable for you guys to have that, actually. It's valuable for you guys to look up to someone as the Godfather because sometimes you got to be told to do something and to take an action step that you don't want to take. And that's the position that you want to attain with your email list subscribers. Does that make sense? Being the Godfather not only makes your list more responsive, but also more appreciative, and it makes them spread your message, which is important, all right? All right, so that's the attractive character. And I know we just went over a lot, but do you guys see, again, how this stuff works. 30,000 foot view, you guys understand why you should create polarity. You guys understand why you should teach telling stories. Do you guys understand why there should be us versus them? How that creates attraction? Do you understand why it would be valuable to have superpowers, right? Deploy these things in every piece of your marketing. Webinars, offers, back office videos, training videos, emails, every single piece of your marketing. Specifically here, we're talking about the deployment via email marketing. So that whole first part covered the actual specific topic of what's the most important thing when it comes to getting your emails opened. What is it? The person who sends the email, all right? The most important part of getting your emails open is the person who's sending. If you use the attractive character right, people are going to want to open your emails. Going ahead and deploying it, I use daily Seinfeld emails or talk radio email, all right? And that's why the most challenging question to answer is, what do you write about? Because the daily Seinfeld strategy is that you write about nothing, right? You just tell funny little stories that happen in your life and you tie in offers with those stories. What is Seinfeld, the show? Who watches it? Right? Who really likes it? It's absolutely nothing though, right? It's just you following a bunch of people around doing random stuff. Why do you watch it? Because you like the characters, all right? The attractive character. So types of emails, and these are just kind of for you to start playing with and start deploying leaving today. So your AM message, I send at 8 a.m. Eastern time, to be specific, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Some people say send a little bit later, 10 a.m. I've never split tested it, just to be honest. I've always sent it 8, and that's kind of what I stick to. Episode style. What happened today? Story-based edu-training and controversial emails, all right? What happened today is a simple Seinfeld email. I had this experience. Tell a story that invokes a sense of us versus them, and then tie in your offer. So as an example, we were at the last Maui intensive, and there was someone who said, we went to lunch, and there was someone who was there saying, God, I'm sick, I gotta take off work, right? But then they got a 12-pack of beer and started drinking it. They're probably not worried about getting better. They're probably worried about kind of, being a little bit lazy, right? I tell that story. I talk about laziness. I scorn that bad behavior. If you're not lazy and you actually want to invest in your business and get on the fast track to success, here's the super affiliate network. It'll get you there, right? See how it's just simple? Here's what happened today. Us versus them. Tie in the hook. Story-based edu-training. This would be, again, if it's so good, why don't you just give it to me for free? I bought Jordan Belford's course, I didn't buy it. I got it for free, didn't do anything for 2 months, 6 months. Got it taken away, bought it again, went through it immediately because I respected it, right? Controversial emails. You can write emails about Donald Trump. You can write emails about network marketing companies getting shut down, right? Anything that's going to be controversial to your audience. It can be really valuable to tie in current events, because when you tie in current events with your emails, what does it do? It makes it feel like there's someone actively on the other side of the email writing it versus it just being a static email being sent out by a machine, which is what you want, right? Some of my customers I do not understand. I give them my swipe file and they send an email about Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl 6 months, 2 years after he won the Super Bowl. It was an email that I wrote the day before the Super Bowl, and they just send it out randomly, right? The reason I wrote it the day before the Super Bowl is to create a sense of I'm a real person, experience what you're experiencing. There's a human being on the other side of this email. All right, Epiphany style emails. Ideas, all right, that one idea that you had that you used that immediately created your breakthrough. What do you do then? You tie in the actual offer as the thing that allowed you to create your breakthrough. Inspirational, whenever you can inspire your audience and actually, fire your audience up and get them there with you inspired in a state of inspiration. Again, people feel hopeless oftentimes in our industry. When you can be the sense of inspiration, what happens? They want to tune in, right? Aren't there a few people that when you read their emails, it's just refreshing? It's just kind of a little bit inspiring. You keep reading those emails? Yeah. Enlightening, thought-provoking. This is kind of one of those things, thought-provoking. So money can buy you happiness, right? I wrote an email a while ago going against, money can't buy you happiness. That's thought-provoking. I just more or less spelled out, and I modeled Dagan with that one, I just spelled out about 5 different scenarios in my life where I would have been unhappy if I didn't have money. And based on the fact that I had money, I could do certain things that made me more happy. See how that provokes thought? See how that's not boring? See how that makes people think? When you can make your audience think, and you can make your audience actually be there engaged with you, what's the scarcest commodity? Attention. The way to get more attention is through engagement. So make people think. Challenge existing dogmas or beliefs. Conversions don't actually matter, all right? That would be a subject line that would be challenging an actual belief. You could write the email saying that the only thing that matters is ROI. I don't care if your conversion rates from lead to sale is 5%. If mine's 1% and I spend 1,000 and make 2,000, and you spend 100 and make 100 back, I still win, right? So see how that challenge, that existing dogma or belief? That's another way to get attention. Of course, you have to pay it off, all right? So some people write emails where they go, conversions don't matter. Thanks for opening today. Let's talk about blog posts, right? You get attention, but then you have to pay it off within the actual email body copy. These are kind of the easiest ones, but don't stick directly to these. But checklists, how-to, Q&A. Rich talked about his video strategy, Q&A, right? Frequently asked questions. Whenever you guys have a question that's asked 100 times, write an email about it. Whenever you have a conversation with a prospect, how many times do I shoot videos talking about a conversation I had with a student? Pretty often, right? I'm using Q&A. How to, again, 80% story, 20% content. But every now and then you want to do a how-to video because it appeals to a certain person on your list. Does that make sense? All right. Always tie in elements of the attractive character. So again, do you know how I did the daily Seinfeld email, how I wrote more or less about nothing, what happened today? I still tied in us versus them, talking about the person being lazy, talking about it being the wrong behavior. If you're not lazy, let's make something happen together, all right? Always tie in elements of the attractive character. Having said that, what do you think the second most important aspect of getting your emails opened is?
Relationship.
That's the first most important. Your subject line, all right? So if an email is coming from someone who you want to follow and the subject line's good, chances are you're going to open it, right? So I'm going to share with you my 3 favorite styles. There's a bunch of different styles of subject line. These are my 3 favorite. The shock effect, all right? These are a couple of subject lines I've sent out that have worked very well. I think about you in the shower. Is that a shock, right? Yeah. How I tied the actual, how I paid it off was I wrote about the fact that I get really good ideas in the shower, and here's a really good idea, go buy. But would that get attention? Yeah. If you created a sense of us versus them in that email a little bit, would you get more attention through polarity? Yeah. Fuck my bad. That was a subject line I modeled from Dagan when Dagan told me to go write it because Dagan had the Godfather position. I would do whatever Dagan told me to do, right? But it was more or less saying, crap, everyone's been promoting this thing, check it out, right? I forgot to promote it. Sorry, I more or less didn't send it out earlier to you. I made sales from that email. It got a really high open rate and a click-through rate. Now, the biggest thing with profanity is don't force it, all right? Sometimes I teach this to people, and they write subject lines that they're just like intentionally forcing profanity in there when it's not needed. And that's not good, all right? When you feel like you would say it if you were actually having a conversation with a friend, that's when you say it. Does that make sense? Don't shy away from saying it when you would actually. network. She's not the only one. My girlfriend wouldn't open my frickin' emails. So I decided to write a subject line that would get her to open my emails. And she opened it. It got her attention. I could look at Infusionsoft and see who's open, and she opened it really quick. But more or less, I just told a story about being at the pharmacy and about a lady coming in and screaming and wanting it just, the way she wanted it. And a guy said, God, thank God she's the only one of them like that in here, right? And I said, she's not the only one. Not to the person, to my email list. I said, the truth is, every single one of your prospects is like that. They only care about what's in it for them right then and there, right now. All right? If you want to learn how to market and how to make sales to your prospect, guess what? Here's the solution, right? Do you see how those are all shock effect subject lines? That's how you get an audience and keep an audience engaged, right? Sometimes you have to send a shock effect email when your open rates are going down to keep certain people engaged that would bounce if you didn't, like my girlfriend. Straight benefit, all right? Number 2, again, pretty clear, right? The benefit. Do this one thing or stay stuck. The 6 steps to freedom. How to make $2,187.87 in the next 7 days. Who recognizes that from the capture page, right? The simple 3-step system to make $3,000 in a day. Now what I will say is when it comes to the subject line specificity, the more specific you are with the numbers, the more it works. So it would have been a better subject line if I would have said $3,121.13. I don't know why. It's just how it is, right? Does this one make sense? I don't want to spend too much time on this one. Curiosity. So again, if you can get people curious about what's in the actual email copy, and if you can get them to open, use the attractive character, create that bond with your audience with the attractive character after you've got them to open, using curiosity, you keep your audience more engaged, all right? The most boring success secret in the world. Are you curious to learn it, right? I just talked about hard work. Again, tying in what? My moral code, right? The attractive character. 1,347 ... the magic number. I forget what I wrote about in this email. Yeah, I forget, to be honest. I write so many emails. But do you see how you're trying to figure out why is that the magic number? I did one recently where I talked about, the magic number seconds in the day. It was different, but it was more or less the same. The magic number, right? Flexing in the mirror. Why the hell is he writing about flexing in the mirror? Are you curious to open it? You open it. What did I do in that email? Did anybody read it? I told the story about being at the gym and having 2 guys that were a little bit too into it, flexing in front of the mirror with their shirts off, doing the whole pose thing. And I wrote the email about me judging them at first, but then about me realizing that the truth is that they're just all in with their passion. And if more people were all in with their marketing, and if more people treated their marketing like these guys treated their gym sessions, they'd do really freaking well, right? So do you see how pique curiosity, tell a little story, us versus them, share my moral code, share a belief that I have, tie in the offer. If you're someone who wants to go all in their business and wants to really do what it takes to succeed, click right here and join, right? They're all freaks, I tell you. I think that's in the follow-up email, and it's just me sharing case studies of people who have had success with the Super Affiliate Network very quickly, all right? But still, that subject line is a curiosity-provoking subject line, and it gets opens. And then once it's opened, if you do your job well in the email, it gets clicked, all right? Does that make sense? Now, just to show you guys, I don't set a set length for an email when I write in the morning. If it happens to be 600 words, if it happens to be 300 words, I'm okay. If every now and then one goes on to 1,500 words, that's okay too, right? I don't set the exact number of characters I need to write. This is a little bit of a longer one, right? Which one is this? This is flexing in the mirror. Have you read in the gym when those dudes show up who are just a little bit too serious about their workouts? Question mark. So see how there's that entire email there? That's an AM style email where you're actually sharing a story, content, changing a belief system, sharing your moral code, etc. Does that make sense? Don't worry about the length. Don't talk about the same, keep everybody on his list engaged every single day, right? So 6 steps to freedom, what is that? Towards desire, right? What would an example be of away from fear? All right? Again, that's kind of, your future pacing to their actual desire. But again, do you guys get the difference? And do you get how some will appeal to one person, one will appeal to one person, one will appeal to another? Based on what they're going on, based on what's going on in their day, right? Ace and Rich didn't buy the first time. They bought when they were in a state of pain, right? He had been, going through his journey as a rock musician, right? He had been hearing and learning about internet marketing for a while. He bought based on a pain that was going on in his life. If that person hadn't have sent an email that day talking about how to move away from pain, they would have never bought. Don't hard teach. This is important, all right? Again, 80% story, 20% content. With webinars, what works best? Teaching the 30,000 foot view and not going in-depth analytical, right? The same thing tends to work best with email. Entertain above all else. How many hours of TV do people watch a day? 6. How many books do they read? 1 per year. 1 to 5, right? If you can just be the person who provides that little bit of entertainment that people actually genuinely like, then at the same time, use all the different elements of the attractive character, you're going to do very well with your email marketing. Entertain and teach what to do, not how to do it, all right? Your product is how to do it. So what to do, not how to do it. Does that make sense? And that's a big one. If you're always teaching how to do it all the time, you're going to get people who really like you on your list, but they'll never buy, and then when you sell them something, they'll complain. All right? You want to repel people who aren't willing to buy. Make sense? All right, this is your PM message. So remember, 2 emails per day. AM message, a little bit longer, entertainment, value, story, right? Use the attractive character. PM message, what do they do on the radio? Commercial, they ask for the sale, right? So what you're doing, whoops, I should have made this come up on different bullet points. You want it to be a short and punchy advertisement. You want it to be 3 to 5 links per email. You want there to be 3 to 5 links per email. That'll get clicked on the most. The more your emails get clicked, the more your engagement continues to increase. So if AWeber sees that you're getting a lot of clicks, they say, okay, this person knows what he's doing. They're a legitimate marketer. Let me bump them to the better server that gets better deliverability, all right? Where if you're getting 0 engagement and 0 clicks because you're not willing to go ahead and promote your offers, even if you're sharing the best content in the world, they don't reward you, right? 2 psychological triggers to hit is identification and catharsis. Again, Dagan taught me that. Identification. What's identification? I used to feel exactly how you feel right now. I had all these problems, stuck, struggling, overwhelmed, rejection over the phone, cold calling, right? Catharsis is just an emotional release. So you have to know what your prospects have a bunch of emotion tied up around. With network marketing, do your prospects have a bunch of emotion tied up around the phone? Yeah. Why? Because they associate the phone with constant rejection, right? So if you were to tell a network marketer how to recruit on autopilot without the phone, right? That sense of catharsis. God, I don't need to pick up the phone and I can still get, that benefit that I want. So focus on identification and catharsis. If you can, be congruent with your AM and frame as an answer to a question, all right? So as an example, if you were to write, let's say, a frequently asked question style AM email about how to get traffic, right? The PM could be, a lot of people have been asking me what I use for traffic. The truth is, I used to feel exactly how you feel. I was stuck, I was struggling, I was overwhelmed with the power editor, I hated it. Identification, right? I found solo ads, a link to the solo ad success formula, everything changed. Now, I get tons of traffic without the power editor, without tech overwhelm. See how that's catharsis? Click here to grab your copy of the solo ad success formula right now. PS, tie in something in the PS line, another link, right? 3 to 5 links in each email. Do you see how that was framed as? People have been asking me what that source of traffic is. this is an example of a PM message. See how much shorter it is? This is actually kind of a long one, right? Do you see how the subject line is hyperlinked? So what I did is I wrote the subject line, then I pasted the subject line as the first little portion of the body copy, right? Wrote the email. Earlier I wrote, to you in regards to daily email broadcasts versus autoresponder messages, right? See how I'm tying in earlier today I wrote? See how I have a link at the top, a link there in the actual body, a link here, and then I also had a link in the PS line, right? So do you see how I'm just giving them the chance to buy? All right. Do you guys understand PM messages? Yeah? You drinking through a fire hose right now? Yeah?
What, is that Central Time or like?
Eastern time.
You should do it Eastern Time?
Yeah, that's what Dagan taught me. Some people say a little bit later in the morning, Eastern, but I've never split tested against it. It would be worth split testing. So does everybody understand the 2 email per day strategy? Entertainment, value, content, advertisement. Let's talk about people on your list, all right? So your list is not made up of people who all think the same way and people who all think exactly like you, all right? There's a bunch of different types of individuals. There's introverts, there's extroverts, there's leaders, there's community lovers, there are analytical people, there's kinesthetic people, all right? If you can appeal to all of them, you'll be able to create and manage your herd in a more efficient manner. So here are the type of people on your list. Analytics, the numbers guy, Jason, very analytical. Fun community type, Ace and Rich, love the community, right? The helper, people like to help people. Leaders and kinesthetics. Now how you appeal to them is with the analytics. You show them the 1 split test to your capture page that bumped conversion rates up by 3.8%. That's going to appeal to the analytical person because they want to know what changed and what bumped up that conversion rate by 3.8%. The fun community type, you want to use jokes and you want to show them that you're fun. Again, don't be boring, all right? If that's the only thing you understand from this lesson, you got value. Don't be afraid to inject your personality and don't be boring. The helper, to appeal to the helper, you want to show case studies of people who you have helped in the past. All right? They want to help people. They want to follow someone who helps people. I show case studies all the time of people who our information has helped. Right? Leaders, we talked about this yesterday. What do you do to appeal to a leader? Challenge them. All right? And leaders are the best people to bring in because they produce, and then you earn 20%, right? So challenge people in your emails. Kinesthetics are people who have to do it, all right? So give them an assignment to do. Give them something to do. That's how they learn, all right? But again, you want to appeal to all of these different people on your list, and you want to understand that all of these different people are on your list before you actually write an email, and you want to take it into account. You guys have that written down? Because it's going to take you a little while to... So what I'll say is that with the attractive character, I have in Basecamp, which is a tool we use to kind of more or less organize stuff, and I used to have on a piece of paper every different element of my attractive character written out, right? And whenever I write an email, if I need refreshing, I go and I look at all my different elements of my attractive character, right? Log into Basecamp real quick, refresh my memory. I have on that file all the different people on my list, right? I have everything I stand for and stand against just to refresh my memory, all right? And then I say, okay, I want to write today's email to the analytical person. I want to create a sense of us versus them. I want to sell this product and I want to tell this story, right? So start with the end in mind. No, don't talk to all of them at once. Just create variety in your marketing. So over the course of 30 days, if you email every day, you have spoken to everybody.
So your goal is to be a little bit of all of them, even if you're strongly just one of them.
Correct. Share the occasional lesson. I'm not analytical, but I share the occasional analytical lesson because I know there's analytical people on my list. Exactly. Tech guy, right?
But he probably
I
wouldn't,
gave him a nickname.
but he probably wouldn't open up your emails a bunch if you're all talking about, funny jokes and whatever else.
exactly.
He's gonna be like, oh,
It's not going to appeal.
exactly, it's not gonna appeal to him. But he would be a good person to have on your team, right? So you have to speak to everyone.
Okay, so having said that, always decide who you're writing for and what the goal of your email is before you start writing it, all right? So again, look at your attractive character. I want to create a sense of us versus them. I want to sell this product. I want to perpetuate this element of my moral code. And I want to appeal to the community type of individual, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a sense of, fun and lightheartedness in that email to appeal to the community type of individual. Tell how some people don't provide support with their products, other people do with awesome communities, us versus them, right? If you want to tap into the best community around, click here and join, right? So do you see how that's very methodical? How it's
It was huge for me when you said that on one of the Maui calls.
awesome.
Start with the end in mind.
Yep,
And every time I went to write, I did that.
yep,
And it really changed things.
yep. And you're a really good natural writer. And so as you get everything else in place, right, that's what's going to start building the tribe, building your herd more. I know what your situation is right now, and it's more of that you don't have that many people because you don't have all this stuff in place, right? So you guys got to understand that if you have all of this in place, these are all the funnels to bring people through, but if you don't have the following to bring people through those actual funnels, right, it's not going to serve you that much either. The whole thing works in conjunction with each other, right? It's like a big spider web. The attractive character creates a bond. These are selling mediums. Certain ones are relationship mediums. Certain ones are list building mediums, etc. All right? But if you have one piece of the puzzle missing, you're in trouble. So I just gave you an example. That makes sense though, right? You understand how you want to think about your emails before you write them? Awesome. Email your list every single day, 2 times per day. Use the attractive character and commit to mastery. There's my last slide for you guys. I hate to say it, but if I had to guess, based on previous experience, there's about 2 people in this room who will write every single day for the next 30 days. Twice a day. Just to be honest, all right? There's about 2 of you who will do it. I don't know exactly who they are, but other people will do it for 7 days, leave really fired up because of the event, do it for 7 days, and then stop. That's not going to get you very far, all right? You have to be willing to take persistent and consistent action if you want to build your business. You have to be willing to work hard. You have to be willing to invest in yourself. You see how I just perpetuated my moral code too?
You almost
Awesome.
challenged people.
What's that?
You almost challenged.
Yeah. You guys are leaders too. Seriously, I challenge you. Just do it for 30 days. If you feel uncomfortable, right? If you feel like, God, I shouldn't send this sales message in the evening, instead of letting that stop you, say, I'm going to test it for 30 days. I'm going to accept Misha's challenge. I'm going to see what happens with my email marketing, right? Do it for 30 days. See what happens. What happens if you do it for 30 days and you don't get the result you're looking for? You still did it. You still tried, right? What happens if you quit 7 days later?
You never know what could be.
Exactly. Make sense?
Do you keep continually writing new emails, or do you, I call it, recycle them and recycle?
Good question. I try to write as fresh as I can, as often as I can, fresh emails. But having said that, if you don't have anything to write, what do we treat our email marketing like? A talk radio show, right? Like Seinfeld, right? So does a radio station play the same song occasionally, right? Do Seinfeld, does it have reruns, right? So occasionally you can send out old emails, best of emails. So track which emails get really opened a lot and which emails people love. And then when there's a day and you can't send an email, right? On Sunday, on Saturday night, queue up an old email that did really well for Sunday, and you don't need to work on Sunday, right?
But you can schedule them in Weber to go out on a certain day,
Correct.
right?
But again, if you do the whole 60 email follow-up series or 300 email follow-up series, I'm not a huge fan of it because you can't tie in current events, right? You take that away. At the same time, you can't tie in what's coming next with open loops. So one thing that you should do in your emails too that I didn't touch on here is when you have a big promotion coming, let them know with a PS, something big is coming. Create anticipation, use an open loop, just like you do with your soap opera series. So open loop shouldn't stop with your soap opera series. It happens all the time, right? Make sense? Yeah? You guys get through that? A little bit overwhelmed?
Was it good?
No? Yeah? Did you guys get value? Awesome. Guys, seriously, this is the thing that allows you to build the herd and build the following. And the following, again, the relationship that you have with your list is your single most valuable asset. If you don't have this funnel set up, you can't build the list. But if you don't have this set up, you can't build the actual asset, which is the list that you have a relationship with.
Do you know what I found when I first started writing emails? I didn't know. So what I did, I went into Ace and Rich, went to aceandrich.com, and I opted in. Here, I was a new subscriber. I went to Patty Schuler, I opted in. I went to Karen Richardson, opted. And the reason, and I went to Gil, I went to all these people, and the reason I did that is just to see what they do.
Exactly.
Not to copy their words, just to
Exactly.
see what they do in the morning and at night, just to see.
That's a really good idea because I'm sitting here a little lost because I've never did it before.
So do that, but remember, you want to identify who's doing really well, and then you want to model what they do. So part of your market research is identifying who the leaders are and who's doing well, and then you model them. Because if you're modeling everybody, only 3% of people in the industry are succeeding, right? So there's certain people that you just listed out that I really genuinely like, but they're not succeeding at the level that they want to in their business. So if you model them, what's going to happen? You get the same result, right? So Ben Settle, Vitali's pretty good, who writes emails for Elite Marketing Pro, right? He's entertaining, right? He tells stories.
Also understand that they're marketing.
Yeah.
Get sucked into their marketing message.
Yeah.
Subscribe, listen, model, see what they're doing, but don't buy. Only if
Unless I send the email, then you have permission.
For me, I opt into a bunch under, and I just see what people are doing. But I'm disciplined and I'm not going to go and be like, okay. But I just like to see how they're crafting their message, how they're wording things, whether, like if they're entertaining versus polarizing versus, just what they're doing. So, just be cognizant of the fact that they are marketing.
Always.
Always.
All right, did you guys get value out of the morning session? That was a lot of content that came at you guys just now. Those topics that we just covered, market research, the irresistible offer formula, and the attractive character, are extremely high leverage, all right? Learn them.